unexpected.
Yeah, well, there you go.
Are
Either
they-
way.
Well, maybe because they're pushing video again.
No, they
It's
were
suddenly important.
No, I think it was just a bug in the software.
Oh.
Side note, Gordon, I have George Thorogood stuck in my head this morning. My wife's been listening to a lot of them. Don't you hate that when you got a song just stuck in your head all day?
It's called an earworm. What is it? No, actually, don't tell us.
Yeah, don't do it because I'm trying to get rid of it.
Well, what song?
George
He's
Thorogood.
not supposed to tell us.
Yeah, I'm not going to tell you
Because
the
then
song.
we're going to get infected with the earworm.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to think of what actual George Thorogood songs I would listen to.
I would say it's not Bad to the Bone. I'll say that.
Was that him?
Yeah, of course.
Oh.
Oh, man.
Bad.
Yeah.
Bad.
I mean, there must be like 500 covers of it, so it's hard to know who did it originally. Sometimes the original person you think did it, it was a cover.
I know. Well, that happens. It happens in movies too. We tried to watch A Star Is Born. I didn't like it, so we didn't watch it. Keep going. And then I realized it was a remake of something in the 60s or something. Yeah.
Seriously?
Dude, do you know how many versions there have been of A Star Is Born? I think it started in 1938.
Really?
With Frederick March and Mitzi Gaynor, and then they did one in the 50s with Judy Garland and James Mason. Then they did one in the 70s that you don't really want to think about. That was Barbara Streisand and Chris Christopherson.
Oh, that's the one I was thinking of.
And then we have this one with Brad Cooper and Lady Gaga. So
I wonder if they update it for every time, though. Like, you got to well...
Oh, they totally do. No, they totally
Well,
do.
I mean, so the Star Is Born is like, well, holy smokes, she had her YouTube channel, and then, suddenly Star...
Yeah.
And then they're like, it could be old media network, kind of Hollywood versus new media. That's probably not how they would do A Star Is Born, I guess.
Well, I haven't seen the new one yet, but
I think I have not seen any of them. So I will skip all of them.
The Judy Garland ones. The first two ones worth it. You can skip Barbara Streisand. I haven't seen the latest one.
I mean, you can skip her altogether, right?
She's an amazing singer. She just didn't always make the
That's
best
great.
movies.
Yeah.
Do we have everybody? All four?
I mean, we've got Leslie here. We've got Jet
networks.
here. We got.
I'm calling them networks because that's an old school thing.
We got Fernando. We got all the fans, all the friends of the show have showed up.
All right,
are ready to watch us.
All working? No, we're gonna talk any secret stuff, blow any secret things.
Well, except for that one secret
Never know.
thing. I think we should talk about that one secret thing. Like, we know all about the consoles. I think we should just tell everyone.
Because
everything
we are
know.
going to be talking about new case designs, maybe PC designs, and also, of course, what I'm actually very excited to talk about. I didn't even know about it until this morning. Is the new PlayStation 5.
Yeah, we got Robin from Scotland over on the Facebooks. Top of the morning to you.
I
guess
think that's incorrect.
That's Irish, actually.
I did listen to the
Watch
Pipes
that,
this morning. I'm
please.
actually a big fan of the Pipes.
The Pipes?
He probably, from Scotland, he probably hates them. It's probably like, oh my God, they play that outside the 7-Eleven to keep kids away.
I'm assuming that's music.
Bagpipes.
Bagpipes?
Oh,
George
you're talking
Thorogood.
about the Pipes. Okay, the Pipes. Got it.
I'm a huge bagpipe fan.
We'll see what Robin says when the lag catches up. Also got Rubutu over on Twitch.
All right.
Hello. So
So we got two topics. So get your questions ready. I do want to hear questions. Although I think there's gonna be a lot of conversation about PS5. I suspect. I think that will be like a big thing.
I mean, who doesn't love to talk about consoles?
Yeah, that'll be exciting.
Atari.
Atari had news today. We're not going to talk about that either. That's not so excited.
Yeah.
You know what I like about Atari fans? Blade Runner proved Atari made it into the 23rd. Yeah, okay, that was a movie.
Yeah, true.
They didn't actually make it that far, other than your vintage retro T-shirt you bought. Yeah, so.
They have new hardware coming out. It's like the, remnant shambling zombie of Atari has new hardware coming out, and they just announced it with AMD's new embedded processor this morning.
Oh, cute.
well, because last time I thought it was it Bristol Ridge?
They changed it.
Oh, all right. Again,
oh boy, that's gonna go over well.
So I think it was Raven Ridge before that. That's funny. They're all over the place.
PlayStation's not going to use that stuff.
Anyway, let's not jump ahead of ourselves.
Too busy writing about PlayStation to bother with Atari.
What? Yeah.
I was too busy writing about PlayStation to bother with Atari.
Yeah.
Poor Atari.
Yeah. All right, Gordon. Let's do it.
We're
I think
in
I'm
for
ready.
this? I'm going to do this in one take. This is going to work. In this episode of
Nope.
See, I mess it up just on purpose to mess it up.
Never
tried.
Like the Warriors throwing game 2 so they don't sweep and everybody angry.
Yep.
Right.
Whatever.
Not that you're upset about that or anything.
Yeah.
The who? That movie, The Warriors? That's
Forget
good.
it. We're not talking about it. We're not talking about the Warriors today.
Nope.
Damn it.
Basketball.
All right. In this episode of The Full Nerd, a new case meta. How the hell would they even say that? How would they?
Sure.
Young people say that.
Gordon.
I don't. In this episode of The Full Nerd, a new case meta. PlayStation 5 versus PC.
Oh, it worked.
Finally.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm a special guest.
Welcome to The Full Nerd, episode 91. I hope I got that right.
Yeah,
Is
that's
that
true.
correct, Adam?
91.
Okay, awesome. I did not miscount that. I'm your host, Gordon Ung, with co-host Brad Charkis.
Hey, Internet.
Today, Melissa Riofrio joins us, fresh from New York, and Adam Patrick Murray controlling the vertical and horizontal.
Melissa, it's good to have you here. You haven't been on in a while.
It's been too long.
Yeah, and before we get to your fun New York shenanigans, I'll point out to the viewers and listeners, I've got a new mic that I'm trying out from Blue Microphone. They sent it to me to test out, so I'm trying to mix it into the rest of the people. If it sounds weird, let me know.
Is it a USB or 3.5?
Nope, it's XLR.
Quarter-inch? Oh, XLR.
Yeah, it's
Wow.
one of their entry level podcasting microphones. It's the Blue Ember, I think is what it's called. So yeah, it's
Maybe the new technology will help you pronounce people's names correctly.
That's what I'm hoping. I did. They did reach out to me and tell me that would work, so I'm gonna hold them to it. Just kidding.
Harsh.
But we'll try.
I like
we'll
that
try.
it's XLR, though. That is the bummer thing about all the podcasting, the streaming mics are all USB. I understand why, but we can't really use them here.
Yeah, well, and I'm working on that series with Elena, of doing her Twitch streaming, and yeah, she even chose a USB based microphone.
Well, you have
Really?
to. You have to.
I mean,
You
Yeah.
don't want any extra hardware.
It depends on how deep you want to get into it. I know professional ones that do XLR and board and stuff like that, but so not everyone does USB based, but yeah, I mean most people do.
99% probably.
Yeah.
I mean, well, like the big ones don't. I'm sure they use real hardware, but most people
Yeah.
use USB. It's just too convenient.
It is.
Not to
it
use
is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Anyway,
But I
we've
think
got some fun topics to talk about.
Yeah, Melissa's just come back from New York City.
Fresh off
Yes.
the airplane.
And not just New York, but Brooklyn. They actually bussed and boated us out to Brooklyn. Acer did, to see their new generation of PCs.
Nice.
And the reason they sent us out to Brooklyn, because believe me, we were all asking, why are we going to Brooklyn? Is because they wanted to be part of the new hip arty scene in
Brooklyn?
Oh.
Yeah. And because what they were introducing, the major thing they were introducing was a new product line called Concept D. And
Nice.
I'm still trying to find out what the D stands for, but the name stands
Developer?
for
Design.
could be developer, design. But what they were trying to do was develop what they actually called a lifestyle PC brand. And we're like, what's the lifestyle part? Because actually these PCs are made for creators. And so all of the laptops and desktops and monitors they introduced were designed for people who, every day for their jobs were working on video, animation, something where like color correction matters. Like all the monitors are Pantone certified, Adobe, RGB, 100%, et cetera, et cetera. And as far as the PCs go, you may be used to thinking of Acer as the value brand and they give you a good price for good specs, but maybe not the most exciting PCs in most cases.
So wait a second. So lifestyle means work now? That's kind of depressing.
It's
Yeah.
kind of weird. I'll get into more of that later. But anyway, these Concept D desktops, they are white, which I guess is part of the lifestyle signal.
Well, not all of them, right?
There's one black PC. Don't ruin my story,
I'm
Adam.
sorry.
Jesus, I'm trying to build here.
Man. Dang
Man,
it.
it's
Whoops.
so hard
My bad.
to work with people who aren't
I know,
storytellers.
like me.
So anyway, all right. Most of the brand is white, which appears to signal like minimalist designer. The highest end desktop is black. But let's get to the insides of the PC, which is what matters more to me. The Concept D500 desktop, which is white, offers up to a 9th gen Intel Core i9 9900K and up to an NVIDIA Quadro RTX 4000 GPU. You've also got room for up to 64 gigabytes of memory. You've got storage options up the wazoo. But the other thing is that even with all these high-end parts, they design these PCs to be quiet. So all of these PCs are supposed to operate under 40 decibels, which is a library level of hush for those of you who don't know your decibels. And they do that by using their AeroBlade fans.
Which are...
And probably, well, actually, those are in laptops. Excuse me, we're not talking about laptops today. Which are what? Sorry.
The AeroBlades are just a different design, so the blades are quieter, I'm guessing?
It's a patented fan by Acer that's metal. And they're supposed to be really quiet. I'm actually not sure if they're not using the laptop versions of the AeroBlades in the desktops, but even the desktops are supposed to be under 40 decibels during operation. And so if you think of that as a lifestyle thing, do you want a PC going shh, while you're working?
Gamers do.
Well, actually, this is the question we can get into before we move on with the specs. If gamers are used to having loud PCs, they've got the colors and everything. I can see the colors as being part of the gamer culture. Do they really want loud PCs, or is it just that that's all they can get?
I'm going to disagree with Gordon. I actually have a pretty badass gaming PC of my own, and it's pretty whisper silent because I have
mine's pretty quiet
closed loop cooler on it.
So you like that, right? You like that it's
close.
quieter.
I love it. Yeah, actually, I've been using the G-Sync HDR monitor. And that has an active fan in it. And so that's the only fan I can hear when I'm working. And it drives me crazy every time my monitor fan kicks on.
The problem is everybody's just spoiled now.
What do you mean?
Everybody's spoiled because back in the day, loud was the only thing you could get.
Yes.
And it was okay. And
yes.
you dealt with it. But now everybody's like, oh, everything's got to be a custom water loop. And, oh, my God, my GPU is like too loud or something like that. I just don't.
Well, Gordon, since we're not all walking uphill in the snow to school anymore both ways, maybe it's okay to have a quiet PC.
Although I do wonder though, did they actually say library?
Yes.
Quiet?
They
Because
did say.
they have not been to a public library in the United States
I wasn't
in a
gonna
long
comment.
time. I have a family friend who is a librarian, and believe me, the training they go through to be a librarian now is like, are you sure you're not a police officer or a paramedic? Because
that's really what you need.
They got us training to give, the OD thing, whatever it is for people to OD. It's like, oh my God. It's like, really? In the library? It's like, and I'm sure it's not actually quiet. It's really like very loud. It's yeah.
This was.
You could make those fans louder to distract you.
And honestly, this was the weird thing, and obviously I know that I'm a, video and photo professional, so I'm only one subset of the Concept D target market, but especially when I think of the times that I've worked in larger places with many other video editors or audio editors or anything like that, silence or how quiet or how loud the case had nothing to do with anything. It was all about performance. It seems like a weird thing to really like hang their hat on is it's so quiet. For me, I'm like, I start to get skeptical of saying like, oh, well, does that mean it's at a cost of performance? Because I don't want that. I want the best performance, and it even if it gets loud, most of the time I'm wearing headphones. So.
I'm actually really encouraged and intrigued by the idea of them putting a little bit more thought into acoustics because, like I said, that's a big deal to me. Our GPU testing rig that we use to test graphics cards, I have that thing overclocked. I have the fan speeds going real loud. That thing's that's stereotypical, like it screams when you turn it on, kind of. But my PC, you just reduce the fan speeds a little bit. You're fine with slightly higher temperatures if you're already buying pretty good hardware. Like I have a GTX, I took it out, but it's a 1080 Ti and like a EKWB closed loop cooler. And if you just, reduce the fan speeds a bit and you're fine with a couple degrees warmer temperatures, then you can get stuff pretty quiet these days, and it makes a huge quality of life difference for me.
Well, but like I understand, like and it's the same for me. Like in my house, I want it nice and quiet. But they were specifically saying, "Hey, you're in a work environment with other work professionals," and I've been in that environment, and nobody ever cared. It was never a problem of like, "Oh, it's too loud." And this is like 10 years ago when cases were more loud.
Yeah, but what Acer is saying is that in an environment where everyone's using one of these PCs. If they're all loud, then you might as well be in an airplane.
No, not necessarily.
It's really noisy.
I mean,
but also what they're saying is that why not have it be quieter? And what they are saying, though, is that using a really loud PC in an open office and then multiplying it by like 10 or 20 creators just got to be noisy. As a matter of fact, the reason they made these PCs is because they found that people were buying their gaming laptops to do video and animation and things because that was the best way to get the hardware they needed. But then you multiply that by 10 or 20 people and you have these really loud, blinking, obnoxious PCs in an office, in an open office environment where you can see everything and hear everything. And that people were saying, gosh, I wish they were quieter.
We could also say, gosh, I wished when people had cubicles and offices
that too.
Maybe if you did that.
Actually, the part that intrigues me about all this, the whole idea of an office full of creative professionals working like this, it might make sense if you're like the manager walking around, but like if you go into Adam and Dan's nook in the office, they're always wearing headphones while they're video editing and stuff. So I'm curious. I'm not sure how much of a difference those noise levels make in an actual production environment, but I could see it making a big difference in like a creative agency or something like that, maybe.
Yeah, well, and hey, if they can, once again, if they can not hamper performance at all and still make it quiet, then you win both. Cool, great.
Yeah.
No,
and I don't think they're hampering performance at all. I mean, the specs I just told you are for the low end machine. The Concept D900, their high-end desktop, has a dual Xeon Gold 6148. It has 12 memory slots. You can have up to 192 gigabytes of DDR4 RAM. It comes with a Quadro RTX 6000. You can have a 1 terabyte SSD and 2 4 terabyte hard drives. And it's the same thing. It's got 6 cooling fans. Actually, they're not claiming 40 decibel quiet on that.
No, I don't believe it.
I just noticed.
I don't think that would be the impressive thing. Although I guess if you had your second case for your car radiator, then it would be fairly quiet.
But it's got 5 storage bays. It's got a lot of space. Now, this desktop starts at $20,000.
That sounds about right. Dual Xeon.
I mean,
Gold.
these are the kind of people who used to buy Mac Pros when those were available, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting though. It's funny because I think it's very much for an enterprise customer.
Yeah.
I mean, you're buying Dual Xeon. Someone else is paying that bill, not you.
Definitely.
It's something where I wouldn't expect Acer to play, but I guess I'm wondering if they've had great success because of their gaming stuff, and then now, like you were saying, they did.
They claim that they're the #1 gaming PC brand in the U.S.
Does that mean sales, or does that mean
that's in sales? And you can kind of see that. First of all, their Acer Predator Helios 300, the $1,000 model, is one of the top 5 best-selling models on Amazon laptops. And they do provide good value for the price. Now, what they're saying with these Concept Ds is that they're getting into this enterprise space. They've had work PCs before, but these are serious computers, and this would bring them into competition with Dell and HP, who also have their Creator, Pro models.
And people who want to build their own too, So.
But they're probably going to come in a little below. I mean, that's kind of what they said, is that we're still going to give value, but with these high-end, no-compromise PCs.
I guess that's why the looks are so subdued. I mean, there's that black case, and then you have the white one, and it has a wood top on the thing?
It was, so let's say something about, the low end machine, the Concept D500, it's white, and you can, it's low end, 1700. It has a wood grain look top to it, and when you have that top on the PC, that means it has wireless charging. That's actually the feature that they're showing there. But they chose the wood look because they could have colored it just like white or some random color, is because they wanted to bring a natural element into the design.
Sure.
See, and that's where I'm kind of like, as someone who, we're talking about $20,000, $2,000 at the cheapest PCs here, I was actually really intrigued to see them bring out a white PC with a wood top. I think case design is, sorely lacking these days if you want something other than a black box with a tempered glass side.
Totally agree.
And I was really intrigued to see them bring it out. But I'm just not a huge fan of the design of that one. I think it's a funky shape. I think that would look kind of funny on the top.
So you don't like the curved corners?
I don't like the curved corners. I don't like the cutout and the wood at the top. That big black square in the front is probably great for ventilation, but just
That
it
whole
doesn't
thing is a
seem
grill.
quite as coherent as I hoped they were looking for, in my opinion.
Would you have wanted the black grill to be white instead?
I don't know.
Or
I
would
think I
look,
would have
or-
just liked it either slightly less curved or slightly more curved. It looks like a rectangle that just had a little bit too much to eat or something. It doesn't like really owe anything.
Well, and I thought it was weird that, I mean, I totally understand them saying, hey, you know, creatives want something more elegant. We've having some people in the chat saying, hey, these are the same people who would, you know, buy Mac Pros and iMacs and stuff like that, who do care about the visual design, and that's awesome. But then they didn't follow through on the high end. They did it and they thought about it on that low end one, but then it was like, whatever,
And
just
then they
black box
chickened
on
out.
the top one.
They just black box.
Which is weird. But, you know, I mean, in terms of, case design, I know that part of the stream, our Slack definitely lit up with people saying, you know, either, you know, they liked or didn't like the design, but also more importantly, like, hey, we wish we had more designs of, you know, more interesting designs than just black boxes. I mean, we get to play with some pretty cool custom things around here, but just on the general, it's, you know, usually tempered glass with black. You know,
that's the current meta, as they say. That's
the
But
meta,
it's hard,
yes.
right? What are you going to do with a box? It has to be a box.
Yeah, you know what's interesting though is whenever I go to Computex or CES and you see all these different case designs, like Inwin has a ton of wood cases. They have this kind of wood design cases, but I've never seen one in the wild. I'm sure they're selling this
charge
Isn't
somewhere.
that true with 90% of what InWin makes in general, though?
No, but I mean, you know, they're really beautiful. You have these very different designs, but it feels like it feels like literally 99% of gamers is, you know, black case, tempered glass, RGB.
Yep.
That's it. That's all you can do these days.
What would you pay for? Because I'm guessing that a lot of these people, they buy their case, they're like, oh, that looks really cool, but they're going to end up with the $70 case because money.
Oh, you mean for the case? How much would I pay?
Yeah.
I paid $250 for mine.
I think
I got a high-end Fantex.
Oh yeah. I'd probably go to $200 to $250. I mean, it depends. Cases, you know, it's interesting because the case market for a long time has been, it's either under $100, or over $500, and then the middle section has just been hollowed out. It used to be $150 was a normal case price. That's what you kind of like. You got a really decent case with all the cool features. All those features have migrated down to the low end. And nobody wants to pay $150 for a case because I'm going to buy an $80 case that has all the features.
Yeah, exactly.
And then, but then the other end, you've got the $250 to $300, $500 cases that are just crazy. But yeah,
I wish actually. I feel like Acer just kind of botched the execution of that one. I like the idea of what they were doing with that case. I like the idea of being able to get a white PC with a wood top or a wood PC. Like I would pay a lot of money if I could get a real nice wooden case.
Oh yeah,
like that's something I would actually spend several $100s on.
And we all say that.
I would.
Like,
I would.
I mean, there's plenty of people that have had wood inlays in cases for a while, but nobody wants to pay for it. It's like, oh, that's really nice. Give me the $80 one.
Well, it depends. I mean, everyone has their own balance of needs. You know, how quiet do you need it? How pretty do you need it? Where are you even putting it? You know, I know, like, mine is on top of my desk because I have no room underneath.
Yeah.
Just the style of desk I have. So, like, my next case is definitely going to have more thought put into how it looks.
These systems, they are mid towers, like, you know, decent.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, interesting. Not. I think you can shove 2 Xeons in there. That'd be impressive. The dual Xeon one is wow. Okay, that's a lot of hardware for a pretty tiny case.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
that black case, I'm looking at these pictures, that black version that you were just talking about, that thing is massive. That thing looks like a double-decker bus. It's so long.
Yeah, and it's got 6 cooling fans.
It's like a really deep case or something, Brad? Is that, I saw that. I thought it was the same size as the white one.
Look at the, oh God, it's in metric. It's.
Oh, yeah.
The other one looks more standard. I have screenshots from the live screen.
Okay. Huh. I just kind of wonder if, like, we're due for something new. I mean, that's kind of the cool thing about the white. We all say that, but, you know, I still like the way black tempered glass and RGB looks.
Well,
I think in general, I can understand why that sells by far the most because most people are just looking for a case. But I wish there were more options. Like just today, NZXT launched a Pip-Boy version of its H500, which is an amazing case for like 70 or $100. Today they just released a special limited edition one that's all done in blue and has the Pip-Boy from Fallout 4 doing its thing up and stuff. And
nice.
I love, the older that I get, the more I like personal touches on PCs.
How much is it?
I don't remember.
I think it would be cool. Go ahead.
The other ones have been around $200. Since it's the H500, I wouldn't be surprised if it was less than that.
Yeah.
I just kind of wonder, though, you kind of buy into that and you just feel like you're stuck with it forever. I mean, it's a major change to swap everything out.
Yeah, you can't just do it. You're like, oh, I want a different case.
I would almost think like if I were NZXT, I would do like, oh, well, we got Pip-Boy, and then whatever the hot new game is in 24 months, we'll reskin your case. We'll sell you the top, both sides with the new theme, and I'd pay $100 for that. It's just Fortnite, right?
I like that idea,
right? Because it's just like you don't want to I'm stuck with this.
Too
like,
much trouble.
What are you doing with your Battlefield 2 case? It's a good game. It's a good game.
That is kind of, or at least maybe the side panel or something.
No, you have to do the full thing, because if you were a case company, you go like, you do the top sides, and you just have a line of custom, side.
Yeah,
because it looks like it matches.
Take out the panels.
You don't want to look all funky and have like one side is Pip-Boy and the other side is Battlefield 5 or something like that. That would be
or
like,
maybe
what?
you do. Maybe one side's PUBG, the other one's Fortnite.
I guess you could
mix
do
and
it.
match.
NZXT actually, speaking of their custom cases, the first one that they did based off games like that looked like the supply drops in PUBG. The crate.
Nice.
Oh,
I do remember that one. Yeah. Well, Gordon, the people in the chat think your idea is a good idea.
I mean, it's cool because there's people who have businesses where they'll do custom, hydro dips and paints, and you have, folks like Falcon and Origin and all these folks in Main Gear behind us, and they do custom. You order your paint job.
Yeah.
But, you're
beautiful.
pretty much, you're beautiful, but you're stuck with it. So I like the idea of just like, they could do it as a subscription service. Like you get a new one. Oh, we'll send you a new one.
Anthony Williams said they had a Battlefield 2142 mouse.
Do they regret that?
Wow.
Well, he says he misses it, so
2142.
Yeah.
Yeah, I never.
Maybe it was a really good mouse.
Maybe. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it'd be nice. I just am like we are definitely. It's very much fashion. So we're right. We're now in the RGB tempered glass.
RGB.
Fashion.
Oh yeah.
For a while, it was the black with the red. And now we're here.
Well,
I don't know
and
what
now
the next
Dell
phase
has
is.
the different colors and the blue.
Oh, did they?
Well, and the Predator line has kind of switched to a bluish,
The Predator line
rather
is
than red.
switched.
So I kind of like that. Yeah.
Well, and one more thing I'll say about the Acer event is that they actually did have case modders there who'd worked on the Concept D laptops and case modded them. The one looked like a scaly reptile. I mean, it was all crazy.
Yeah, I love that. I just wish
Case modding a laptop. I mean, imagine that.
I follow a bunch of case modders. I'm friends with a bunch of them on Facebook, and some of them were at that event. And
really?
Those things looked amazing.
Yeah, they looked great.
I wonder if you could customize it. I mean, I know some PC vendors have tried to do swappable lids, but it'd be cool to do something like that.
Gorilla Glue.
Do you know what PC you can't customize?
What?
Yeah, a MacBook.
Well, that too.
Easy target.
No, the new PC that got specs that got announced today.
The
cool new PC.
Isn't it a PC?
Yeah. The PC
Adam
called
is trying to segue.
Sony moved on from the Vio line to this new line called PlayStation. So it's a PC pretty much.
It has been a PC for a long time.
Yeah.
But this
It really has.
I got to say that it's impressive, right? This
Brad wrote
PlayStation
an
5 is...
awesome article. I'm going to drop that in the chat.
You want to break it down, Brad? What is in the new PlayStation 5?
Yeah, sure. So we don't have too many hard details, like nitty-gritty speeds and feeds kinds of deals. But Sony's, very renowned system architect, Mark Cerny, gave an interview with Wired Magazine and gave us, our first taste of the PlayStation 5's capabilities. And as a PC gamer who is never going to buy a PlayStation 5, I'll say that right now.
Really?
Yeah, I would buy the next Switch, whatever the next Switch is, but I'm not going to buy a PlayStation 5. I'm actually super excited for what they have going on in here. So
It's Jaguar cores, right? It's just better Jaguar cores?
Mm-hmm.
Something like that. So the PlayStation 4 and the Xbox One, when they came out, they both adopted AMD APU design. So x86 architecture, Radeon graphics, all on one chip. They're basically PCs running custom software at this point. I mean, there is a bit of a difference the way they're all fully integrated, but they're PCs at their heart. Yeah. Which was great when it came out in 2013. But in 2019, their Jaguar AMD cores that were made for mid-tier tablets are really holding gaming in general back. There's a big trend towards open world design in games these days. Mm-hmm. And open world design leans heavily on the CPU and the storage. So the slow-ass 5400 RPM hard drives and those Jaguar cores are killing open world. Like, we can't see their full potential right now because every major developer optimizes for consoles because that's where a lot of the money is, right? But this new PlayStation, Mark Cerny told Wired, is also going to be using an AMD APU. But this one will be based off 3rd-gen Ryzen, which is the one launching this summer. They're ones you can't even get yet. As well as Radeon Navi GPU, which we know is coming. It's expected this year. Again, something we don't have a lot of details on from AMD. But yeah, it's going to be all modern AMD's newest 7-nanometer Ryzen technology and Radeon technology, there in the PlayStation 5.
This seems very forward-thinking because I feel like Jaguar was already pretty old when the last consoles came out, right?
It wasn't really old, but it was crap. It was crap from the beginning.
Yeah, its claim to fame is we're still faster than Atom. Yeah. I don't mean Atom, the producer. I mean Atom, Intel Atom. It's like, yeah, we're somewhat better than Atom sometimes.
Yeah, so it's going to be running these AMD APUs, and they're also, it's funny because they're talking about all this new technology. There's more that we're going to get into in a minute. But the part that Mark Cerny, the architect, called the game changer, and I totally agree with him, is they're also going to put in SSDs.
Woo-hoo.
So,
nice.
Well, welcome to 2019.
Moving from a hard drive to a SSD is a huge difference, like a massive difference in performance. We always say, if you have an old computer, before you do anything else, go buy a cheap SSD, put it in there, see what happens. It's that much of a difference. Talking to Wired, they were fast traveling in the Spider-Man game, and on the PlayStation 4 Pro, so the newer upgraded one, not the original, it took 15 seconds to pass travel. On the PlayStation 5 with an SSD, it takes 0.8.
Wow.
So, which is what happens when you go from a 5400 RPM hard drive to an SSD. But the fact that developers will be able to assume that the majority of their audience will have Ryzen CPUs and an SSD in their system means great things for PC gamers trickling down.
Well, and but it's probably safe to say that those are going to be PCIe based. They're not going to be M.2, right?
They haven't said what it is. Well, it'll be
integrated. It's all that stuff's highly integrated. It's not going to be an add-in card. Cerny said that it's going to have immensely more bandwidth than today's PCs.
Right. So it might be a PCIe 4 SSD.
He wouldn't go into details.
SSD. Yeah. Who knows what it is exactly? He didn't go into details, but I was kind of like, well, it's like, hey, welcome to the 21st century with your SSD, for God's sake. But I love SSDs. They're awesome. I recommend everybody gets one. But for a gaming computer, it's really a 1 terabyte SSD it's still $100.
They'll come out with 500 gigabytes. These days, you can get a 500 gigabyte SSD. You can go buy one on Amazon right now for $50. They're about, a dime or whatever a gig.
Yeah, but how does that cut the mustard on a PlayStation 5 with, 80 gig game installs with the textures for, I don't.
I agree. There probably will be space limited. Not my problem. That's why I'm not a console gamer. But that being said, they also said that this will not come out this year. So it'll be 2020 at the earliest. So who knows how cheap SSDs are going to be by then? I mean, they've plummeted this year. So
also, everyone in the chat's saying it's probably going to be SATA. But
no.
People are wondering you've been able to swap drives in older consoles already. So this isn't like a brand new thing.
Yeah.
The consoles come with hard drives, and you can swap out the SSD, but some people do, but I wouldn't be surprised if that's very rare, because the kind of people who buy consoles are typically the kind of people that just take the console and they play. That's the reason. Not PC gamers.
Yep.
I would say most people plug in external. I know I have an external drive on my PS4, so.
Yeah, that really helps, having a PlayStation 5 with a 512 gig SSD and then storing it on a hard drive on the USB.
But that being said, the important part is, like I said,
actually.
I don't care about what it means for PlayStation gamers, because I really don't care about PlayStation. I care that developers will be able to assume there's a Ryzen CPU and a SSD in the majority of systems that they're targeting.
But is that
that makes a big difference.
Is that real? Sometimes I think we all said that when, finally, for God's sake, consoles because they have been just the rock around PC gaming forever, just holding everybody back. And I'm not sure it's ever going to pay off dividends. Like, we always think well, we're going to get multi-threading now that consoles have, 8 cores. I mean, they're weak ass 8 cores, but at least they have it. But it never, where the hell is it showing up in PC gaming?
I agree. While I was writing this article up, I went back and I read when the PlayStation 4 was announced in 2013. I did an article about that, comparing it to the PC, and I was very optimistic along those lines. And a lot of it didn't turn out to be. So, my beliefs are more tempered this time around. But I think last time the issue was that they did decide to go with those really crappy Jaguar cores. Like, that had long-term effects that switching to Ryzen by itself is going to have huge effects for the ecosystem, just because I think the Jaguar cores is what Duke did the first time around, to be honest.
Also, somebody in the chat asked, Terrible3 on Twitch is asking about the ray tracing, that it's saying it's going to support ray tracing. Like, how are they going to do that?
No idea. That's the devil's in the details for that, because they're like, oh yeah, it's capable of ray tracing. The thing that these hardware manufacturers don't say is every GPU is capable of ray tracing. It's just how fast can you run it. That's the reason that ray tracing has never been a thing until NVIDIA introduced these RTX graphics cards with dedicated hardware to make it faster, because it'll slow your system to a crawl, on Windows at least, if you try to do that, without that special dedicated hardware. So I'm going to be real interested to see if Navi has dedicated ray tracing cords itself, and what that means for Navi graphics cards, because Sony might have requested some sort of weird dedicated hardware for its custom APU that it built, because Sony's software doesn't use Windows anyway, obviously. Xbox does. Sony doesn't, so they don't use DirectX ray tracing API. So they could be requesting something totally custom for them. So yeah, there's a bunch of question marks there. We're going to have to see the final implementation, but they say it's going to handle ray tracing. NVIDIA just unlocked DirectX ray tracing on GTX graphics cards.
Yep. And
it's not pretty. We haven't done an article on it. I played around with it a little bit. Digital Foundry did an excellent article on it that I linked to in my Sony piece. It's bad. You shouldn't, unless you have a GTX 1080 Ti, you shouldn't be trying to use ray tracing in modern games. So if it's, purely shader based in this Navi thing, I'm going to be very curious to see how that turns out.
So real quick, somebody in the chat said that the PlayStation 5 will be able to trace one ray.
Yeah, that's why it's not called rays tracing.
Ray tracing. So you don't buy the NVIDIA thing, because I was sort of asking NVIDIA when they first revealed, hey, we're going to do ray tracing on GTX. And they're like, so is this just to make everybody feel bad so they want to upgrade? They're like, no, we want to enable it for the entire ecosystem. But if it's so poor, it does seem like this is their attempt to just say, like, yeah, okay. Before we just said, no, you shouldn't be able to run this. But now they're saying, go ahead, run it. And then it's going to convince people to buy, RTX cards.
There could be part of that. I also think, I personally, as someone who, I was in the NVIDIA press briefings, the embargo pre-briefs on all this stuff. Just the terminology and the language they were using, I think it's more so they can say to developers, hey, instead of having 2 million RTX graphics cards out there, there are now 20 million ray tracing capable GeForce cards. So I think it's just something to do with the scale and trying to upsell the technology to developers. Which, I mean, if the PlayStation 5 does come out and can do ray tracing, even though it doesn't directly translate to DXR in Windows, you would think that that would give that a shot in the arm too, right?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, definitely. Because, I mean, there's some people who still believe that ray tracing is going to go nowhere. It's a dead end, which I think does sound crazy to me. But
I still think it's eventually, I have no idea the time scale. Eventually, that's going to be the default, is my opinion. I'm not sure how long it'll take, but ray tracing, if you talk to anybody who makes games, anybody who does graphics technology, they're always mega pumped that this is finally happening.
It just depends on your direction. When you're looking forward, oh, this is taking way too long. And then when you're there, well, that was really quick. Well, no, don't you remember saying how long this took forever? So you're saying it's possible, which is interesting to me. If Sony, I can't believe they blew this by saying Navi will do ray tracing. But you're saying it's not necessarily implied that there will be hardware ray tracing in Navi. Then, I mean, it could be just a Sony. I mean,
it could. Who knows? Or no, it could be that they're looking to. If they're saying that out loud, I hope that there's hardware involved in this, dedicated hardware to handle the ray tracing.
Yeah.
But it doesn't necessarily mean that there will be.
Or maybe they have a cheaper option that doesn't have dedicated hardware, and a more expensive option that does. I mean, who knows? Also, I will say Elena Yee is in the chat defending consoles right now.
Oh
Elena.
boy!
So,
I'm on Elena's team now. Just a couple weeks ago, I got the Konami code tattoo on my arm.
There you go. Perfect.
Seriously?
Filthy cat. Yeah.
Also, I'm sorry, I'm going to try to find the person. A Flash Photo was asking about knowing kind of roughly the CPU and GPU that's going to be in it. What do we think for RAM? What do you think would make sense?
It'll depend. I mean, you would think at least 8. Like, I believe that's what the current consoles have. I think you'd have at least that. I wouldn't be surprised if there's more. There's some rumors going around right now about pricing and release date and RAM and stuff like that. That's some pretty, like, wildly big numbers. Like 24 gigabytes of RAM, I think, is the rumor.
Yeah.
But didn't they go with something? I just don't remember on the PS4 Pro. But didn't they go with some weird hybrid GDDR5 for main memory? So,
yeah, it's possible. That stuff varies. Once you start getting down into that kind of stuff, this is AMD's custom chip work design, so it could vary greatly from the PlayStation to the next gen Xbox to what we actually see in Navi graphics cards.
Where does, speaking of console wars, where does this put? I don't even know what version of Xbox they're on or have announced. Where's it going to put it with the Xbox war?
We'll see. Actually, there's a rumor right now that Microsoft might launch diskless all digital Xbox next month.
Oh my god!
Yeah, Microsoft seems to be kind of leaning into the Xbox One X of this generation is the most powerful console, but next generation they're definitely saying, hey, part of our big content strategy is going to be streaming. So they might have like a cheaper streaming only version, or who knows?
If you work on a nuclear submarine, go buy an Xbox One.
Yeah.
No, Xbox 360. That's it. That's what remember when that dude said that when the Xbox One launched? They were trying to make it all streaming and cloud-based then. And they're like, well, if you live on a nuclear submarine, just stick with your Xbox 360.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and Sony hasn't talked too much about their streaming stuff. I mean, they have the streaming service, but they're not leaning as heavy as Microsoft is, so... who knows? Maybe Sony's like, crap, the Xbox One X was like the most powerful console, but now we're going to have the most powerful console. I don't know. I mean, but also at the same time, Microsoft's probably going to have AMD just like they did before. So, maybe they're on par, and it's still a good thing for PC fans,
I 100% expect the Xbox to be running on AMD because they've already been playing up how backwards compatibility is a big deal for them. They want to make it more like the PC. Microsoft's been working hard to improve the PC experience, although Windows Store is still a blight upon humanity. So I expect them to be AMD based as well whenever that happens. One of the cool things about it being x86 hardware in the PlayStation 5, and now this is the second generation of that, is that they say it'll be backwards compatible with PlayStation 4 games out of the box.
Thank goodness.
That's the beauty of PC.
Hell yeah.
The developers just have to say, turn it down to if you're running PS4. It automatically will tune it down.
No, PlayStation 4 games will still run on a PlayStation 5.
Yeah.
It doesn't necessarily mean you can play PlayStation 5 games on a PlayStation 4.
I would think they would because they want to sell games, so that you would just crank it back to lower
No,
settings.
because then they wouldn't sell any new consoles. That's how consoles do it. They make the old one obsolete like that.
I don't know. I mean, that old world way of thinking went out the window
True.
with all their
True,
funky,
maybe.
custom.
Maybe they keep the
non-x86
PS4
parts.
around forever,
But I'm super excited about this in general, though. The idea that Ryzen SSDs are going to be table stakes now. The idea that ray tracing could get a shot in the arm, because I actually, even though it does give a big performance hit, I'm all about it. I love it. I love crazy new technology that makes your stuff sweat. And I'm just real excited to see that those will be mass market in the next couple of years.
And Jet is asking, if they're finally going to lean into x86 for the hardware, the next couple generations, do you think that means we'll ever get to a point where it'll truly be like a PC and it's modular and you could do more than just, swap out a hard drive?
My actual hope, I don't think that's going to happen in consoles. No, I would be surprised, because even though consoles are becoming a lot more PC-like, I mean, the reason you buy a console is because you buy the box, you plug it in, and you play it. So I would doubt that they would have upgradable technology before too long. What I'm hoping is more on the Xbox side, that eventually what they have Windows is that you could pay money to get a nice Blu-ray drive that has all the hardware, software compatibilities baked into it. It works, and you could enter like an Xbox mode in your PC and just put your Halo disc inside your PC. That's my eventual.
Huh.
That'd be cool.
I have some crazy predictions, though, Brad. I'm going to predict, and I base this on absolutely no knowledge of talking to anybody, but just simply making stuff up to be controversial. I would predict next generation Xbox, after their streaming service fails miserably, because console gaming on streaming just is not going to happen.
See, wait, but I thought you always said that console gamers just don't care about graphics quality. So if they go to streaming, they're
No,
fine.
they do. They do when they have to. When you're lording it over the other console, then it's okay to get in that war.
Yeah, but anytime they look at the PC, they feel inferior. So
It's not about graphics. It's not about frame rates and graphics and resolution or load times.
That's what you've always said, but now you're saying it.
No,
it
I'm saying it is, but I believe that. But I always hear this thing from you and Elena that it's not about frame rates and resolution and load times and audio.
Yeah, that's why I'm
And the
saying.
games
That's why
and
I'm
the
saying.
controller.
Actually, a lot
audio.
of streaming people will care.
Actually, something that they also mentioned is that AMD's baking in some custom 3D audio work for them in the PlayStation 5. So
Wow, that's
hopefully
so
that starts
cool.
to come back too.
Sure wish we had something like that on a gaming platform that was upgradable, had resolutions, frame rate, and here's my crazy prediction.
You can plug in a Super X5.
Here's
to
my
your
crazy
PS4.
prediction. I never got
True.
to crazy prediction, which is Xbox streaming service. People are going to be like, you have people that are just like they are. It's got to be hardware in front of them. It's got to be high risk textures. It can't be all the latency you got to deal with. But my prediction, crazy prediction, Xbox next generation will be based on Intel CPU and graphics.
Ooh, that would be big.
2021.
Oh,
It's far enough that people will remember this
big.
conversation by then.
Dang.
Why not, right? I mean, Intel's hungry. Intel's hungry. They got plenty of IP. They got to make this graphics part, prove itself. Why not be the foil to AMD in graphics?
That
in
would change
consoles?
things.
I mean,
Yeah.
have they hired anybody from the console space recently? We just need to look at their current hiring.
They got to get the contracts first. But I would just think, why not, right? They got a graphics part they got to push out there. They need to make it competitive. And what other way than to go to their old friends, Microsoft, and do an Xbox based on it?
Who knows?
Is that crazy?
And Intel, yeah, right?
I mean, man,
saying
that would be wild.
Stream is not going to work. It ain't going to work.
It's not really streaming. It's just that not physical discs. So, if you have an Xbox Game Pass subscription now, you download the games to your system. You just can't put a disc in.
And I'm saying streaming is going to work. It's not going to go away. It's going to be good for a subset of. I use streaming all the time, and I think there's plenty of people out there who will. I don't think it'll replace playing locally, but I think it's going to be a viable option for people who don't care and just want to play a game.
Is this PS5 going to be better than a PC? Are we going to now have PS5 players getting all in,
I hope so.
When the
Your
PlayStation
face.
4 came out, it was competitive with the mid-range PC. Like if you had a $250 kind of graphics card, that Jaguar CPU always sucked. but it was, in the ballpark of a decent, mid-range PC. That's what I would expect for this too, because they can the ceiling's only so high because they have to price it for the mainstream.
Yeah.
So.
Yep.
I mean, it'll still be 4K at medium. So
Well, we don't know what Navi is. You've got decent cores.
Actually, they said 8K,
yeah.
in
well,
which I wrote in my article. Don't
Sure,
actually
yeah.
think you're gonna.
well, also they say 4K now, but most of it's just upscaled.
Yep.
So
I don't know about that.
yeah, Gordon, can your PC do 8K right now?
Sure.
PS5 can.
Sure.
Mine
You
can.
just set it to low res, I guess. It's just more of a pastel kind of a game, kind of like watercolors, just kind of moving
Still-
around there.
Hey man, StarCraft 2 still has a base. I bet you I can get 8K going on that.
Yeah, there you go.
How much do you think this is going to cost?
$500.
Yeah.
That's always the
I think
five.
it's-
That's
it's
the
a
new
console
one.
price.
Yeah, it's
I
a
think
new
that's
one.
how much the television cost back then. No, it's $250, I think.
When the PlayStation 4 came out, it was $500 in just the game thing. And the Xbox was $600, I believe it was. And it was like a mic drop moment I was at that E3 where like you could hear cheering across the building kind of a deal. So
For
I would be
$600?
surprised. $500 for the PlayStation 4.
Oh.
Mhm.
So I would be surprised if they push it further. Because they did that with the PlayStation 3. They made that real expensive. And that generation, it lost out to the Xbox 360. And this time around, the Xbox One started off at the higher price point. And it's, while they're both successful, it's lagging far behind PlayStation 4 sales. So I wouldn't be surprised if they look to be very cost competitive.
How come whenever I talk to Xbox people, they're always like, no, they've sold exactly the same. They're perfectly equal. Is that not true?
What Xbox
I'm
people
just trying to
are
make
you talking
Elena
to?
angry.
Yeah. Elena's not here. She had to go to bed.
Oh. Because that was like, the Xbox fans are like, no, it's not true. Every bit as good as PlayStation 4.
Most of the people in the chat though are going for 400.
400.
Wow.
Wow.
So,
That's top of the line hardware all around for
Yeah.
$400 with an SSD.
yeah,
It
that's
just-
a little too much. I don't think you
Yeah, that's optimistic.
I will say though, it's interesting because I always hear about how optimization on consoles is awesome, but that level load time is horrible. 15 seconds in that Spider-Man time travel thing.
And that's just fast travel. Playing games on consoles
Oh, yeah.
with their stock hard drive,
Oh, yeah.
it's abominable. I don't know how anybody does it.
Well,
It takes, my PC boots way faster,
oh yeah.
the entire thing, than just waiting for a level to load on a...
Well, and one of the problems that's always plagued the Xbox through this whole generation has been like even navigating the menus, like just in the main user interface has been super slow. Like when you go to where all your games pop up, like it's just super slow to load. So I think Microsoft is really going to care about it this time.
But
But what I think is funny is that the Nintendo Switch, the cheap Nintendo Switch, is actually much better at load time simply
Yeah.
because it uses SD cards.
Yep. SD for the
random
win.
access. But I thought consoles, they can just simply optimize for inferior hardware, and that makes it all the equal of whatever the PC has, Brad and Adam.
Yeah, they pushed the.
It's optimized. That's why it doesn't matter.
I mean,
They
the
do have the highest quality pixels.
Yeah, I will say that even though this generation is older, they're still not doing too bad. They're still able to really push, all those crappy Jaguar cores.
You just said a second ago that just moving the menus feels like you're on a Pentium 2 or something.
Oh, we were talking about graphics quality here.
Oh, I see.
1080p. It's still good 1080p.
So you can. It's just beautifully rendered loading screen.
Yeah.
Good 1080p depends on your definition of good, I guess. Like some of the Soulsborne games, man, they dip down into the 20 frames per second. And I know that sitting on a couch 10 feet away is a little different from sitting right here, but
Also,
20
that
frames per
developer
second.
has always sucked at optimizing. So
Yeah.
I'm hearing a lot of excuses here.
well, because somebody
Wow.
like Forza. I mean, Forza is beautiful.
It's
on
amazing,
console.
yeah.
So there's people who can do it right.
Does it hit load screens though? Loading.
Yeah.
The initial load screen takes forever
Yeah.
on an Xbox.
But
Once you're in the world, it does okay.
Yeah, it did. The newest Forza didn't have loading. It was just one big open thing.
Okay.
Once you're in it, yeah. Anyway,
I am doubtful.
let's-
I will tell you one thing I'm sure is the PC will still be better and faster.
Well, of
when
course.
PlayStation
That's 100%
I
true.
mean, come on.
But, I mean, think about it. There's going to be Ryzen cores in there. That alone is going to make all the difference in the world. I mean, it's not Jaguar. When Jaguar cores came out, we're like, oh, that's a pretty good GPU. Oh, this Xbox and this PlayStation look pretty well spec'd. Oh, that's the CPU they went with. Where in this case, it's a kick-ass, high-quality Ryzen core. So
and it should help, right? It's got to help.
It's going to help tremendously. It's going to run circles around what they have now.
Because a lot of the games now really are starting to use more than, the classic 2 threads of one-thread gaming. It really, on PC, it definitely helps to have, 4 or more, 6 sometimes. So
I'm curious to see how many cores, CPU cores, wind up in the final deal. Will it be 4 cores? Will it be 8 cores? Will it be 6 cores? Who knows?
Yeah,
because if it's 6 or 8 cores and it's actual Ryzen cores and not those weird Jaguar pseudo cores, it's a good Ryzen core and there's actually 8 of them. That could make a big difference. We're talking 5 years down the line though. But if they get 6 or 8 cores in next gen consoles that are Ryzen cores, 5 or 6 years down the line, we're 3 or 4 or 5, 6, who knows? It could be a big difference for PC gamers on that front too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'll believe it when I see it. In the meantime, we're still better.
Of course. Let's move over to some questions. The first one over on Discord, if you want to put it in Discord, or if you got anything in the chat, I'll comb through there. From Discord, Big Mama is asking if the PS5 will support 8K. Do you think it'll use DLSS, like upscaling type of technology, maybe?
It would use upscaling if anybody was crazy enough to try to make that happen. There's no way, unless you're playing like Texas Hold'em poker arcade game kind of a deal, that it's going to run anywhere near 8K natively. I doubt it would run 4K natively without upscaling. It's always weird talking about consoles because they're fine with 30 frames per second. In my head, I think around 60.
Right? Navi is just an unknown quantity at this point. We don't know what's going to be.
Yeah, we know it exists. It's expected to launch this year. AMD hasn't said anything about it, so we'll have to see.
Okay.
But 8K seems awfully optimistic. It would have to involve upscaling.
Or maybe it's just for video playback or something. Who knows?
I don't expect there to be DLSS, like specifically DLSS NVIDIA's implementation. That takes advantage of dedicated tensor cores inside of RTX GPUs. I don't expect to see that in Navi.
Okay. This one's for you, Melissa. Jet is asking, was there any other Acer pre-builds you liked at the event?
Is he talking about the pre-builds, so not the mods?
Pre-builds.
I wasn't allowed to talk about the laptops that they showed there, but there are actually some really great laptops at the show.
About the laptops.
Oh, can I? Can I? So first of all, the Acer Predator Helios 700 laptop that they debuted at the event has a keyboard that slides forward, and when you slide it forward, it exposes 2 ventilation extra vents for the laptop. So those laptops have the AeroBlade fans that really push the air out, and so the Predator Helios 700 has high-end overclockable CPU, plus a really great GPU. So having those extra vents makes a big difference. Also, pushing the keyboard forward and having the trackpad and the buttons kind of closer to you makes it a lot easier to game on the laptop. I thought
that sounds really cool, actually.
I thought it was beautiful, but I just love, Adam knows from covering PC events with me, if it moves, I love it. And it's just really fun to see the keyboard slide back and forth. It was an ingenious solution, I thought.
And that'll be a production laptop?
Yeah, it's going to be out really soon. And then the Concept D lifestyle brand, their highest end laptop, called the Concept D9, I think. We saw the gaming version of that at CES. I can't remember what it was called, but it was the laptop display was on this dual arm.
That was the Triton 900.
The Triton, the Triton 900. Same thing on the Triton 900. It had a dual arm hinge, and so the display, was kind of suspended like an acrobat on a bar. It was kind of cool.
I wonder if any of these designs are going to make it, because it's interesting, all the experimentation that's going on with gaming laptops. Mm-hmm. You had the Asus motherboard, which is like a big giant gaming surface in a way. You had the Triton.
Yeah.
But it seems like no matter what, at the end of the day, it just comes down to clamshell laptop with, basics. It doesn't seem like anybody ever really embraces these new designs.
I'm intrigued by the Triton because I haven't seen it in real life, but in the pictures I've seen, it reminds me of way back when Windows 8 launched, and we had the very first 2-in-1s.
Yeah. And
they were going through all kinds of experimentations. The original Dell XPS 13 was in a hinge that had a rotating lid like that, so you can do it from a tablet to a laptop. And that Triton design reminds me an awful lot of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think the design enables you to hold a heavier display.
Yeah. I mean, but I just
You can
because
flip
that
it
whole
all the way around, make it into a tablet.
like that A-frame, I think that kind of like pivot design, that is, I swear to God, from the 1990s. I've seen it back then, and it just we keep trying to recycle these form factors and designs, but consumers just like no, clamshell. I mean, the only thing that's ever caught on are these convertibles, and that's to me like kind of the best thing these days. But
Yeah, but then when you flip it over, then your keyboard is like sitting on your desktop. So
Yeah,
by
but you're
having a
only gonna
display
use it
that
for-
flips, like on the Triton or this Concept D, yeah, but now your keyboards are on a hard desktop surface.
yeah, but now the screen's closer. I just think I don't think I've
That
ever seen
is
a convertible gaming
simpler
laptop.
and cheaper to do than the dual arm thing.
Yeah,
but it's
more reliable.
but it's imperfect because your keys are hitting the desk.
Yeah.
Yep.
But it's for A-frame mode.
Does anyone use A-frame mode?
I don't. Another question for you from Amon. Is Acer making a new Vega Helios 500 with desktop GPU? Do you know?
Vega Helios? They mean Predator Helios 500
Yeah,
maybe.
yeah.
The last generation, the Helios 500 had a Ryzen Radeon option. So instead of Intel and NVIDIA, there's one that had Ryzen and Radeon inside. I think he's asking if that's going to be an option for these new ones.
They actually didn't have the Predator Helios 500 at this event. I was expecting them to, but that was okay because I was just busy sliding the keyboard on the 700.
I imagine they will, though. It's kind of nice that Acer does AMD designs. There's,
Yeah.
everybody expects everybody to make a lot more AMD this year since they can't get no Intel parts. So,
Small problem.
yeah.
Okay, we got one over on Twitter from Amon.
Thanks, Mr. Garvey.
Yeah. Is the 2060 good for 1440p gaming?
Yes. If for 60 frames per second, 60 hertz monitor, yes. If you have a very high refresh rate monitor, you might want to step up. But for 60 FPS, 1440p, that would do fine.
Okay. Along those same lines, Ashen1 is asking, what's a better card for Twitch streaming, 1660 Ti or a used GTX 1080?
Somebody's shopping.
Boy, that's a tough one. Didn't they have that new, is it in the new encoder engine in the, does it make it in the 1660? I know the RTX gets
Not
the
sure.
whatever.
I know it was in I would think so. I would think it'd be in the 1660 because if it's in the RTX, basically RTX is the same as the GTX, the modern GTX ones, just with the RT and Tensor cores. So I would think so. You don't need a crazy, unless you're using a single PC. You don't need, if you're making a dedicated like streaming PC, you don't need a crazy GPU. If you were looking to buy new hardware, I would say the 1660 Ti is about where the GTX 1070 was. So the GTX 1080 would give you more frames per second. So if you're looking at it as far as just raw power, the GTX 1080 would be more powerful. But if you get a 1660 Ti, you don't have to buy it used. You get a warranty and stuff. So that makes a difference to me.
True.
At least one person in the chat is saying that the 1660 has a new encoder.
Yeah.
All right, we got another question from what is it? Newbold. Question for Gordon: do you think the gap between PC and laptops is getting smaller, and if so, which is better in this year's development?
I think it just depends on what your definition of PC is. Clearly, you can get near 9900K performance in a laptop that's 13 pounds once you have the bricks. But no, when you're looking at, if you consider a PC also a 32 core Threadripper, a 28 core Xeon, then no, there's nowhere near laptops getting to desktop PCs.
I think for general use, though, I think it's pretty even these days.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like I would
That
have
I would
if a normal person, like if my mother or my aunt or my uncle or whatever asked me, hey man, what should I get? Just go get a Core i5 or Ryzen 5 Core i3 laptop and you'll be fine, man.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that was my
Totally
other
agree.
prediction for game consoles. Intel-based upgradable graphics. Modular graphics,
Right.
in fact. You buy this Xbox, it'll be the last Xbox you ever buy. Hey, you need more graphics performance? Move it, put in your new graphics. Bam. Yeah, I know that's crazy. We'll
I
call it
believe
the
it when I see
Odyssey. The Odyssey, the old Odyssey, not the new Odyssey.
There you go. A couple more questions. Rooker on Discord's asking, what is the best CPU you'd recommend for a brand new gaming rig paired with a 2080 Ti that will cause no bottlenecks in any game for about the next 4 to 5 years? It's gonna
That's all he wants.
play mostly at 1080 60, but maybe 1440 at Ultra. And they like to play the games with mods like that have a lot of resource drain.
Wow. Well, very specific.
Yes.
9900K or 9700K.
Yeah, go for the high end. If you have a 2080 Ti, you pair it with a high end Intel processor if possible.
Although a 2080 Ti and a 1080p panel is 1080 60.
Yeah, it's a bit
like,
overkill.
That is a lot of overkill. Originally, I was going to say, 5 years, that is like looking really far down the road. Okay, actually, 1080p 60, that should go 5 years. I think ray tracing is the only issue, right?
Yeah.
If I was in your shoes, Rooker, what I might consider is instead of getting a 9900K, I would consider getting a 9700K and spending the difference to get a 1440p panel.
Ah. Interesting alternative.
I don't know.
Well, they might already have one. He says probably would play at 1080 60 or maybe 1440 with G-Sync Ultra settings.
Oh.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. If he doesn't, yeah.
Yeah. It is hard to beat those high clock speed Intel parts. 9700K, 900K just makes sense. AMD fans, sorry.
Sorry.
And the fact that you're talking about pairing it with a 2080 Ti means we're not even going to bother talking about the cheaper options.
Yeah. Yeah.
I have a question from Adam Patrick Murray in our Discord. My CLC attached to my 4790K is making gurgling noises. Is it okay?
Only on power up?
No. I can, if I lean in real close, I can hear just like a little bit of gurgling kind of water. I'm not getting any leaks or anything. I just hear a little bit of. Is that normal?
No. So if you go to the Windows, if you go to Windows and you go to the lower right hand side, there's this little thing that looks like it's called a speaker.
Okay.
And then you click on it and you increase the volume, and that'll fix your gurgling noise.
You need a louder GPU, Adam.
Yeah.
I think it's. I've had some gurgling sometimes, and it's generally okay. I would monitor temps because
it's about 4 years old.
There's a chance. I mean, they're sealed. You're not supposed to have leakage, but I have had brand new CLCs that are like had no water in them. So I would just definitely look at temps, but I wouldn't worry about it until the temps got out of control.
I agree with that.
Yeah, it's about 4 years old. It's a Corsair H80, I think. So it is the dual fan one.
Oh yeah, so it's it's probably okay. Make sure there isn't a hose bound up or something. But as long as your temps are okay, and
temps are fine.
People have had CLCs leak at the cold plate, so if it's happened, it's too late anyway. So don't mess with it.
Yeah, no, I've checked. I have no leaks, nothing like that. It's just an little audible gurgling.
Well, then use that.
The sound can change on those over time because it is liquid inside, and it's been sitting in there for 4 years, like you said. So sounds can change.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
Just crank the volume.
I will
down.
tell that person in Discord.
If that person's really worried about it, because I know some people are just like, hey man, I don't want the idea of any water possibly getting inside my PC, go buy a cheap Cooler Master Hyper 212 or whatever.
Yeah, go for air.
Yep.
The air fans are always like, yeah, there's no maintenance, nothing ever goes wrong.
And you think it'll still be able to hit temps just okay? Yeah.
It wouldn't be as good, but it'd be fine.
4790K, you're probably good.
Okay.
I'm not too worried. I wouldn't be too worried about it personally.
Okay. Cool. And then the last question is a fun one because I always like to do that. Evocatai Productions. Evocatai Productions.
Go to YouTube and look for Mr. Garvey.
I don't know. They have an important question. Is Gordon the only Trekkie on staff? And Peter Jansen, friend of the show, follows up asking if we also like things like Stargate SG-1 or other sci-fi shows.
Babylon 5 is the best sci-fi show of all time.
Boom.
Probably, possibly the best sci-fi media of all time.
Boom.
I have a vintage Tribble.
Ooh. Is it?
I'm
soft?
more of a Star Wars guy myself. If we're talking about the big two, my favorite Star. I've watched all the Star Treks though. My favorite is probably Deep Space Nine. Probably because it reminds me more of Star Wars than any of the other ones.
Wait, how could you? Wait. If you are a Babylon 5 fan, how could you possibly like Deep Space Nine?
Because it's outpost at the frontier of space, right? It's the same kind of a deal.
Yeah.
No,
Living in the Wild
because
West.
well, yes, it's like very similar, but there's that classic tiff between. They stole that. They stole that from whatever Michael Straczynski. So he pitched that to Paramount. They stole it, and it ended up they turned that into Deep Space Nine.
I don't care about
You
all
don't
that.
care
I
about
just
those.
like that's their problem and their lawyer's problem.
Yeah,
I like
that's
them
true.
both.
Okay, no, I'm surprised. That is a very. I've never heard from a Babylon 5 fan who's.
I've always wanted to watch it. I've heard good things. I
You
myself,
should.
just like our boss John, is a Trekkie. Definitely diehard Trekkie. I mean, Star Wars is fun, but definitely Trekkie.
I'll watch everything. I'll watch episodes of Space 1999. I love that. I mean,
Space 1999 is great.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
And I know you're a big Star Wars fan, Melissa.
I am also a big Star Wars fan, but only episodes 4 through 6
Yeah.
plus.
The
That's a
original
good one.
1 through 3.
I don't acknowledge episodes 1 through 3, although I heard 3 is okay.
yeah.
Stargate SG-1 I haven't watched since I was a kid, but I remember liking it a bunch then. Is it really that old? Yeah, it must be.
It is. It's pretty
I
old.
lost track because there were like so many SG1 Atlantis, SG1 Clorox products. I mean, there were just like so many SG1s. I just like, what? Brought to you by Procter & Gamble. Well, I don't even.
That's pretty funny.
Blade Runner.
I
for
think
life.
that's a real series too. It's a Procter & Gamble SG1.
Really?
Well, and I think back to the original question. I mean, I'm OG Star Trek. I also used to watch Thunderbird. If anyone out there
Oh, that's a
remembers
classic.
Thunderbird, that's how OG my sci-fi is.
Most people would think of the Team America as that's their version of Thunderbirds. And so
I love Thunderbird. I
Okay,
should go
so it
look
was
for
puppet based.
it was puppet-based marionettes,
that's
except it
cool.
was kid-friendly. Was it Gary Anderson? Was that a Gary? That must have been a Gary Anderson thing.
I have
no idea.
such intense desire to go watch that now. I wonder if it's on Netflix.
Yeah,
Or-
On Thunderbird,
Jeez.
you know they
Yeah.
remade it too. They remade it. It's on Amazon.
I did not
They
know that.
remade Thunderbird.
Yeah, if you can pick your way through the things you have to pay for on the Amazon Prime Video, you can find the Thunderbird show. And I tried to get my kids to watch it, and they're like, no. It did not. This is years ago too, and they would never do it now. They're
Huh,
teenagers.
I'll have to look that up.
Also, I'll leave it with this. Our boss John says Star Wars is for kids. Sorry, Gordon and Melissa.
Star Wars is for
Well,
kids.
I was a kid when it came out. Sue me.
I mean, they both have their charms, but if I had to lean, I would probably say 65% Star Trek. I mean, I live in a Star Trek home, so I like them both. So it's good. It's cool.
All right.
Oh,
Close-
I do. Oh, wait.
Close Encounters is actually probably my favorite sci-fi
Really?
movie. Yeah,
Oh.
Close Encounters is
The
great.
original Alien. If I was picking a movie. Yeah.
I was always
So
disappointed
creepy.
in Close Encounters.
Really? Oh, okay.
No,
okay.
just
This is going
because.
to turn into a long show if we get on this.
No, I just was like, as aliens, I've been trained to know what to expect from aliens. Really, you just want to put on a light concert for us and
Well, first
give us
of
a bus
all-
ride to the stars?
First of all, Steven
This is
Spielberg
not-
versus George Lucas, no contest.
Yeah.
But
I
yeah,
agree.
lest lest we get started.
I don't know. There are definitely some Steven Spielberg things you kind of wish you could forget. So
I agree, but overall,
there's only one Howard the Duck.
overall,
I would say there's more things that George Lucas has done that you want to forget.
yeah,
No, he stopped because he hasn't done.
He literally had to stop because he wasn't doing
yes.
Yeah. Well, let's not talk about it because
Anyway,
we want our Disney
anyway.
sponsorship.
Anyway,
good. Yeah, I know. Disney, please.
sorry.
Star Wars. It's great.
Well, so check back in the future. I'm not here next week, but I don't know if somebody
either.
else is going to. Oh, and Brad isn't here either. So we will be taking a 1 week hiatus
Maybe.
probably. So check back in the future for your fix of why consoles are not as good as PC Talk. On the Full Nerd for audio listeners, subscribe to us on iTunes, Google Play, or Stitcher, and also leave a review on iTunes every time that happens. Xbox may add another core to try to catch up to PlayStation 5. See, that's give you a bone there. Send questions and comments to the Full Nerd at PCWorld.com. Thanks for coming. I'm Gordon Ung with Brad Charkis,
Adios.
Bye.
Melissa Riofrio. Oh,
I already
you
waved
already
goodbye.
did
I'm way
buy?
ahead
She
of you,
already did it.
Gordon.
Oh, okay.
Way ahead of you.
Yeah, that's out of order instructions.
Sorry.
Out of order buys. And Adam Patrick Murray's going to hit the off switch.
Hey, go try to play a console. Just try one.
Mm-mm.
Just to know that somewhere in the world
Nope.
Gordon
Nope.
is not feeling good
Nope.
about it.